Hello and welcome back to my stamp studio. I'm here today with another holiday class to go card kit. I'm using the In the Pines bundle found on page 43 of the Stampin' Up! Holiday Mini Catalog. I've also been playing around with a new card design and thought this would not only be the perfect bundle, but also the perfect occasion to show off this new trendy card design to share in this class to go card kit. So first let me begin by showing you the suite of Stampin' Up! Products. It is a 14 photopolymer stamp set. It has these beautiful tree images and it is a two-step stamp technique set. So you receive a nice fine lined image, but you also receive these beautiful solid images that you can use together to create a really pretty effect. So you have a larger tree, a medium-sized tree, you have a little small tree here, and then you have a little cluster of trees as well that all play on that two-step stamping. But you also receive some stamps that you can create a cool little scene look with your card. There are some little dash lines here that you can use as either snow or just the ground underneath your trees. You also have a shorter and a longer fine lined trunk that you can use to make your trees as tall or as short as you need them for your project. And then I think this one's a little harder to see on camera, but there is a little bit of a fleck stamp there that you could use either as snow or just that fleck that we sometimes want, that we use like markers to splatter technique on your project. There are only two sentiments with this set: season's greetings and thinking of you. And so I think though it plays on the fact that it is not only a fabulous set to make holiday cards with, but the thinking of you lends itself to sympathy cards, a good masculine card, outdoorsy card for someone. So I think that it's a very versatile set that could be used year round. So the coordinating tree dies that come with the stamp set in this bundle are these. And you can see along the bottom here that you have four cutout trees that coordinate with those four stamps on the front, in the set. And then you also have a tree that is a cutout tree, and we'll show you this one here in just a minute, but it makes a beautiful cutout lacy looking tree. And then you have two here that are the same, a larger one, a medium-sized one, that are mostly a solid cutout, but they also have little individual areas that peek through that really give those branches a realistic look. And then in addition to all the tree dies you get in this set, you also get these border dies that you can either use individually or layer them to create a really cool snow drift look, or even just mountains, land, or a change in the landscape look a little bit to create a really fun scene for your card or project. Okay, so I think this is a fun bundle, and that's why I just thought it was a timely way to use this for the holidays. But again, I want to emphasize that I think it really is a great all year round set to use that you would grab very easily from your stamp stash. So now let me share my class to go kit cards. And here they are. So as you can see, they look a little different than other cards I've had in my past kits. These cards are designed with the Slimline fold. It's a hot new trendy fold that I thought worked beautifully for not only this bundle of Stampin' Up! Products, but to make a stunning holiday card. These cards take a bit more cardstock to create, so this card kit will come with two cards, one of each of these cards instead of two as I've had in my past and previous class to go card kits. Even though they take a bit more supplies to create, I think you'll agree it's well worth it, especially at holiday time. These cards measure 4 by 9 and fit easily in a standard business sized envelope, which measures 4 1/8 by 9 1/2. These do not require additional postage, so it's basically the same size that most businesses use for their postal transactions. Now, I think a gorgeous holiday Slimline card deserves more than a basic white business envelope. So I did some research and I found some craft paper business size envelopes on Amazon, and I actually have those coming. I did not have them today for the video, but this kit you will receive in addition to these 2 cards. You will get 2 craft business size envelopes. Okay? Wondering how you can get my Class to Go card kit for free and what's included? Let me go through that next. You simply need to purchase the In the Pines bundle, the stamp set, and the dies for $51.25. No other purchase is necessary. With the purchase of this bundle, you will receive my free Class to Go card kit, which includes supplies needed to create 2 cards with 2 craft size envelopes. So supplies to create 1 of each of these cards. You will receive enough pre-cut, scored cardstock and papers, embellishments, ribbons, and envelopes to complete the kit cards. Now, because everyone has different stamp stashes, you may not have some of the products I'm using in these kit cards. So I offer many additional products at what I call an add-on list. You can receive a 10% discount on these add-on items with the purchase of the Class to Go card kit bundle. I will do my best to mention these add-on items in my video today, but they are also listed with this post. It's important to point out here, the 10% discount will only be available when you send me your order and I place it for you. It's the only way I can give you the discount. I do need to charge a $4 postage fee, which covers my mailing of the card kit to you, and your Stampin' Up! Order will be shipped directly to you from Stampin' Up! Once you have all your stampin' supplies, you're ready to simply sit and stamp with this video as your guide. The kit does all the creativity for you, and you get to stamp in the comfort and safety of your home. If you're interested in ordering my In the Pines Class to Go card kit, contact me via email or message me here on Facebook when you're ready to place your order. You will find all those details in this post along with the ordering dates, but please let me know if you have any questions. Also, I wanted to take this opportunity to share that in the spirit of the holidays, I'm changing up all my holiday Class to Go kits. As I shared in my other Class to Go kit video, unfortunately this year I will not be able to safely hold my annual holiday card classes, which truly saddens me. I look forward to creating and prepping for these classes every year, and I will miss it. But more importantly, I will miss catching up with all of you. I'm hoping that next year we will all be back together again. However, I will talk about an alternative at the end of today's video with additional options to this class, and you won't want to miss them. Okay, so let's get stamping. So I think today I am going to begin with this card. This card is created on a base of old olive cardstock with some Whisper White, and then with the idea of all these beautiful trees, I just grabbed all of the beautiful Stampin' Up! Greens we have and have just mixed those greens in this card, and I think it turned out fabulously. So your kit would arrive with these supplies here. And remember that you will also receive a craft size business envelope to be able to send your card. The old olive card base measures 9 by 8, And it is scored down the middle here on the 8-inch side at 4 inches. Okay? To be folded in half, use your bone folder to give yourself a nice crease to create that perfect size for a business size envelope. Okay? And make a beautiful slimline card. You will also receive 2 pieces of Whisper White that measure 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. One of these is intended for the inside of your card. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to take my Stampin' Plus seal here and give myself a couple little ribbons of that down the side. And then this is going to get placed on the inside. This piece, I'm going to tell you right now, I made just a little bit longer. So it actually must measure 9 inches instead of 8 3/4. Your kit will have an 8 3/4, so you'll have a nice border around the edge there. Okay? Now, I want to double check this piece before I actually attach it, and this one happened to be cut the same way. So I'm going to go to my trimmer real quick here. I apologize for that. And I just cut off 1/4 of an inch so that way that will line up perfectly with a nice little border around the edge. So 8 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay? I do have to admit these measurements are kind of new to me. I've just been playing around with this technique, and so they're harder to get in your head versus our standard cards that we measure and use. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take Stampin' Up's Evergreen Forest embossing folder. It's one of the 3D embossing folders. You can see I have a yellow sticker on it, so it is one that you would want to use with that embossing plate. And I took my long piece of Whisper White cardstock and I placed it in here as far as you can, okay? But I am also not only paying attention here to this left side, I'm also paying attention here to the top and where the top of that tallest tree is, because I want that to be on my Whisper White piece, okay? Then I took this and ran this through the Stampin' Up! Die cut and embossing machine. Remember to always go with the spine first. It just helps your embossing folders last longer and wear better. And you will end up with a piece that looks like this. Now, we're missing a little bit here. I almost just left this card like this. I thought that was actually kind of pretty to have this, to have your sentiment over here maybe, or some other little trees over here. But I really liked the play on the slimline or long card here, and I really wanted it to just be across the whole center here. So in your kit, you will have another piece of Whisper White that measures 4 by 3. And that piece you're going to take and run through the embossing folder as well. And again, I placed it so that you're hitting the top of that tallest tree, and then you're able to get this one in there as well, okay? So you would run that through the die cut machine, and you would end up with this piece here, okay? Now, let me point out here that I do believe that the Evergreen Forest embossing folder is a wonderful folder, especially to coordinate with this In the Pines bundle. If you have another tree embossing folder, I think it would work just as well. If you had another textured outdoorsy kind of embossing folder, I think that would work as well too. So, but this Evergreen embossing folder would be an add-on item to this class that you would get with a 10% discount, okay, if you order through me. All right, so we're done with that. So I'm going to take and the larger piece here, and I'm going to add some of the multi-purpose glue. I also want to point out that it might not be easy to see on the camera, but both sides of this embossing folder are beautiful. I think you could get by with using either side. Now, you notice that I'm only rubbing my multi-purpose glue over the textured section of this Whisper White paper, okay? Sometimes when you use your multi-purpose glue on a piece of Whisper White here, it shows through with bumps, and I don't want that to occur. So then I'm going to take and use my Stamp and Seal on the border that does not have the multi-purpose glue or the texture of those trees, okay? I'm going to take that and mount it centered. I must have grabbed the one out of the kit because this one ends up being 9 inches and it's end to end here. Your piece again will be 8 3/4, and you'll have a little bit of green around the whole perimeter of that. I'm sorry. This is a piece that I had pre-embossed, and so my measurements are like that. Like I said, I struggle a little bit with some of these measurements because they are quite different than what we're used to, so I apologize for that. Then we will take our little smaller piece of Whisper White that we ran through the embossing folder, and I'm again going to just put the multi-purpose glue over the textured section of that paper, and then I'm going to use my Stamp and Seal to put adhesive on that little section at the top that doesn't have any texture, because I don't want any bubbles or bumps to show through from the multi-purpose glue. Okay, and there you go. Okay, right like that. Now, next, I think we'll set this base card aside, and I want to go through the other pieces that you will receive in your Class to Go card kit. You will have a piece of the gold linen thread that comes from the Forever Fern ribbon combo pack. You'll also have a little wood element that comes from the In Good Taste Elements. This also has some bigger leaves, some smaller leaves, but it also has this beautiful little branch that we're going to be using on this project. And then you'll have a little strip of Just Jade cardstock. You'll have 2 pieces of the silver metallic paper from Stampin' Up. You'll have just a little piece of scrap Whisper White. You'll have a piece of scrap Just Jade. You'll have 2 pieces of Garden Green cardstock. You'll have a scrap piece of Old Olive. You'll have a scrap piece of Mossy Meadow. And then you'll have just a little bit larger piece here of Granny Apple Green. And you all know why, because it's my favorite green, one of my favorite greens, that and Old Olive. And then you'll also have a piece of watercolor paper. It's a little thicker, and it measures 4 by 2.5. Okay? So I kind of want to start with this, even though I just kind of went through all those greens you're going to receive. So let me get a little small blotter here for my stamp and lay that over the top and throw down my piece of watercolor cardstock. I'm going to pull in now my water painters. Stampin' Up! Has these packs of water painters that I think are fabulous and a great improvement over our aqua painters last year. They come in a set of 3. There's 3 different size tips. You have a small little fine paintbrush tip. You have a medium sized paintbrush tip. And then you also have a larger one, and I like all of them because they fit in this container. They also have nice little lids for all of them. And the paintbrush, or the watercolor wash brush, is just basically like a paintbrush. I love it, but you can get a really cool watercolor look for a background on the back of on any background for a card. I went ahead and I put Pear Pizzazz re-inker on here, and also the Balmy Blue re-inker on here. The re-inkers and the water painters would be a 15% off item added on to this class. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to squeeze my water painter so that it drops a drop of water on each of the refills, okay? And then I'm just going to come in here and kind of spread that color around a little bit more on the block so that I have a real light amount of color on there. If you're worried about getting too much, you can always take some off on your blotter. And then just with a real light hand, I'm just going to make streaks back and forth, okay? Then I'm going to squeeze my painter and I'm going to clean it off on an old towel. Then I'm going to come in here and do the same thing with my Pear Pizzazz. I'm going to spread that color around a little bit, dab off the darkest of it, and then come in here with a real light hand and just go back and forth. Okay? If I have brush lines, it's okay. If I don't make it all the way to the edges and the corners and each side, it's okay, all right? That's kind of the look that we're going for. It's just kind of a light, subtle watercolor look, all right? Now, the reason I did that first is I want it to set aside here and dry. Obviously, you could take your heat gun over it and you could dry it quicker if you wanted to, but we have time. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside and let it dry. Now, back to our green cardstocks here and our silver cardstocks. So the silver cardstocks, you're going to take this little bit larger tree die that I talked about earlier that has the little bit of a more lacy cutout look, okay? And that one is going to get placed here on the larger silver metallic and get cut out with that one. There are a little bit, maybe I'll bring this up because then you can kind of look at the reference point, a little bit of where they were at in my case. This little bit smaller tree here is going to get cut out with this silver metallic paper. And you are also going to use that same die for this Whisper white scrap. Okay, so I'm going to put that over there with that so you can kind of see that those both will get cut out with that die. Now, these other greens here that we have, the garden green here will get cut out with this little bit larger tree die, just like that. And then you will also need a granny apple green. I'll go back to this one because I'm just noticing here there's a granny apple green one of this one as well. Okay, and this will make more sense here in just a minute because I'm going to pull those in. But I want to finish talking about these other greens. You're going to white emboss some of your stamped trees on these other pieces. The medium or larger size evergreen tree will get white embossed on the mossy meadow. The little bit thinner medium sized tree here will get stamped on the just jade. And then you'll have that same one getting stamped onto the old olive piece. And then that cluster of trees and that individual little single tree, I actually mounted on one block and I stamped those onto the second piece of garden green cardstock. Now, for the granny apple green cardstock, you're going to use that same larger tree from the mossy meadow cardstock on that over here to the left-hand side. Because in addition to that, you're also going to cut out a solid green tree on that as well, okay? Now, let me pull those pieces in so that you can see what you're going to get here. You're going to get that one with that one. Here's the old olive piece here. Here is just the plain green tree there, that little bit larger tree die. Here is the just jade, little bit smaller tree cut out for that one. And then your granny apple green piece, you will have this little bit larger tree cut out. And then this just plain with that little medium-sized tree, okay, on the granny apple green. I also have the white and the silver. So there's the white cut out of this little medium size and the silver cut out with that little medium sized die. And then that beautiful cut out lacy looking tree right here, the larger one that gets cut out on the big silver metallic piece of cardstock, that one is there. Now, our little cluster and our little individual tree also have dies, and those will get cut out with that and that, okay? Now, these little smaller trees all got cut out with this die. Your little cluster got cut out with this die, and this little individual tree die. And then obviously this larger die here goes with this. I'll move these down here. This one and this one here. This one goes with that die there. I don't know if that helps or not. It's just so hard to show. And I tried to save a little time not to actually cut them here on camera. So if you wanted to freeze frame your video right now and really look at these, I think it would help a little bit with what goes where, what die you use to cut out what. Obviously, these are just suggestions. Once you get your bundle, and if you see trees that you like and want to layer differently or use different ones than I have here, you are more than welcome to do that as well, okay? All right, so now let me pick up all these dies and get them back into my case here. And then all I want to leave out is my pre-cut dies. And then we're ready to create our card with all these beautiful trees. Okay, aren't they pretty? Now I'm going to bring my piece of watercolor cardstock back in, and I'm going to bring my base card back in. And this is going to get put up on dimensionals. So I'm going to grab 4 dimensionals here. And this is going to get placed over here, not super far left, but over here towards the left and then close to the bottom, because obviously I want the tips of those trees to peek out above this. Okay. Now the next tree I'm going to add on, and again, you can do this in whatever order you want, but I did it this way. I just thought it was nice to build it from the inside out. I'm going to grab that larger silver lacy cutout tree. I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue here, and I'm just going to gently squeeze it to get enough out to hit kind of just some larger areas in between these branches with a little dot of it, okay? It does not take much. Remember, this is just paper. We're not really trying to adhere anything that needs a great amount of glue. And then this one, and notice I didn't put any up here at the tip of the tree. You don't want any up here because it's going to kind of overhang our watercolor piece here. So I'm going to take this piece and place it over my watercolor piece, and I'm going to have it just up from the bottom a little bit, but have the branches over here to this right side. And go ahead and press that down. The next one I'm going to grab is the solid garden green tree. And I'm going to come in here again with my multi-purpose glue and just add a little bit right down the center. Again, I don't want much up here at the tip because that tip is probably going to overhang up here with the watercolor piece. Okay. This one gets placed on, I did anyway, just a little bit lower than the silver one. Then you're going to grab your granny apple green piece. And again, I'm hitting that trunk, but I'm not hitting the top section of that. And I'm going to overlap it over my garden green tree. So you have those 2 beautiful solid trees there. Next, I'm going to grab the Whisper White tree, and I've already placed a mini dimensional that I cut in half on the back side of this, okay? They are very small, very dainty areas back here to be able to add any adhesive. And I really wanted to give this some dimension popped up on them. And so I went ahead and just cut them in half, and they ended up fitting very nicely. So this one, I'm going to place just a little bit taller over here to this far left side. The next tree I want is the Old Olive White Embossed tree. And obviously this is more of a solid image, so I can go ahead and attach some there. I'm not putting any right at the very tip. And that one is going to get staggered right in between my 2 solid green trees, the garden green tree and the granny apple green tree back behind. Okay. And then what I might do is I'm kind of overlapping my Whisper White tree, and those little branches aren't able to pop up because remember that one was up on dimensionals. So I'm going to sneak in there and with my paper piercer here and just pull those up so that they're actually up and overlaying. So lesson there maybe to apply the old olive tree first and then do the Whisper White one maybe last. Okay. All right, now we're going to work over here on this side. I'm going to grab the Mossy Meadow White Embossed Tree and put some multi-purpose glue on the back side of it. And it is going to get placed kind of to the left of where our two pieces of paper meet there. Remember that we built so we had embossing folder all the way across. And you're laying this on top of that textured embossing folder. So sometimes you have to kind of press and hold that just a little bit more. The next tree I'm going to place is the Granny Apple Green White Embossed Tree. Again, multi-purpose glue works great. I'm going to place this one way over here. And just to give this a little more interest, I'm going to put it just a little bit higher than this Mossy Meadow one. Again, needing to press it a little bit because we're laying it on top of this texture here. The next one is the Just Jade White Embossed Tree. And it's going to get placed just a little higher than the Mossy Meadow one. And the trunk you can see is a little higher than that one. So you just kind of want to go up, down just a little bit to kind of give it a little bit of more interest with your trees and the heights of them. Then you're going to grab the last tree here for the front, this silver metallic medium size. And again, I took a mini dimensional, cut it in half to be able to have it fit on two little center spaces there because I want this one to pop up over here. Okay, love that. Isn't that gorgeous? Now it needs a greeting. So on the little strip of Just Jade cardstock, I white embossed the season's greetings that come from this bundle. And I went ahead and I placed two mini dimensionals on the back sides of that. Now, before I actually attach that though, I want to grab my gold cording. And I've done this in classes before where you take the end of it with your index finger and your thumb. You bring your second finger in here and you're going to wrap around it once. Then bring your ring finger in, wrap it around again, and then your pinky finger in and wrap it around again, all to come back together here between your index finger and your thumb. Gently take your three last fingers here and pull them out, and you end up with three different size rings to be able to use behind. Okay, we've done this in class before. Holding on to these here, bundled together, grab a small piece of just basic Scotch tape, and like I said, small. You're going to take the end of that, put it up through that smallest ring of gold thread, and then sandwich around it just like that. Okay, and that's what holds all those pieces together in that little ring. Now, if you've used a little bit too much tape, it might be a little long here or a little wide here. So if you need to come in here with some snips and go ahead and trim off that extra, you can. The best way to get this to stick, I think, is to use a glue dot. So I'm going to grab a glue dot and right directly on that Scotch tape section there, I'm going to push down and get that glue dot to stick there. And then this is going to get placed at the end, to the right side, I guess I should say, of our greeting. Okay, so make sure you have that placed correctly, and then go ahead and really it's just the center of your sentiment strip and attach that there like that. Okay, now I'm ready to take off my stickies from my mini dimensionals, and then this is going to get placed over here. Whoops, I caught on my trees. It's going to get placed over here, really the center of the card. And so it's going to overlap a little bit and then pop up over here onto your watercolor piece, okay? Now, this ribbon really frays nicely on its own, but I did take the ends like this between my finger and my thumb and even kind of pull apart a little bit and really get those ends to fray out. I just think that's a really cool effect. If they're a little long for you, obviously you can come in here and you can snip off and make them just a little bit shorter if you want to, okay? But I really worked these so they frayed out and really had almost kind of a fringe little look there, which I thought was really fun. And then the last thing for the front of our card is our little In Good Taste wood element. And again, I'm going to use my multi-purpose glue. These are quite fragile, so be careful as you're handling it. If you squeeze it just right, they do sometimes crack and break off one of the little branches. So just be gentle with it. I just put a little bit of multi-purpose glue there at the bottom of the stem and the branches. And then this guy is just going to get placed right underneath your season's greetings sentiment and laid right there over the top of your gold thread as a nice little, I think, wood effect and texture on there too for nature look, I think. Natural look. Okay, now our little trees that we have left here are our little cluster and our little individual tree. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put some multi-purpose glue on these. And then these are going to get placed on the inside. I really, when I created this card, wanted to make sure that I used every single gorgeous, beautiful tree, stamp, and die that comes in this bundle. Especially since I'm only including one card in the kit, so you have a chance to use everything. Okay, so I put the cluster over here to the right. I put the single one here to the left. Again, this bundle only has 2 single little sentiments with it, so there really isn't a greeting to put on the inside. So either that leaves you lots of room to write an update for people at the holiday time, or you could find, I'm sure in your stamp stash, another holiday sentiment that you'd like to place on the inside there, okay? So here is the first Slimline card from my Class to Go card kit, and I just think that this shows off this bundle and these trees beautifully. And it's just a fun, kind of fancy card to send to somebody special at the holidays. I think it would be beautiful on somebody's mantle to be able to display in their house too at the holiday time. Okay, all right, now onward to our second card in this kit. And just to remind you, it's this one here, navy and white, you can never go wrong with. So the base of the card, I have used Whisper White cardstock, and I've made a little bit, in addition to a slimline design, I've also made it a shutter card where you just open the center here and be able to have it open this way instead of the traditional way like the previous card. Okay, so I thought this was kind of fun. And again, this tree set just lends itself beautifully to this card design, I think. All right, so let's get started. So when you receive your kit, it will have supplies that look like this. Remember, in addition, you'll have a craft size business envelope. The base of the card is smoky slate, and you will actually have 2 pieces of smoky slate, and these pieces measure 4 by 9. Okay, you will also have a piece of Whisper White, which I've already stamped the cluster of trees in Night of Navy down in the right hand corner. And this will measure 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. Okay. You will also have a piece of Night of Navy that measures 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. You'll have a gold hoop from the Forever Fern suite You'll have some of our metallic edge white with silver ribbon. You'll already have a pre-punched 2-inch Whisper White circle. You'll have a little strip of silver metallic cardstock. You'll have a little strip of Whisper White cardstock. You'll have a piece of silver metallic cardstock, a little bit bigger piece there. A piece of Whisper White cardstock. You'll also have a thick piece, a little bit larger than this piece, of Whisper White cardstock. And then you'll have 2 pieces of the thick, again, cardstock. And these measure 4 by 5. I want to make sure and tell the right measure, 5.5, okay? And each of these will be scored on the 5.5-inch side at roughly 1 inch. Okay, both of those will be. All right, where to begin? So I think I'm going to start with my Night of Navy piece. Okay, so I'm going to put the rest of these all aside for right now, and we'll use them here in just a little bit. So my Night of Navy piece, I'm going to do some embossing on. So I am going to pull in my Embossing Buddy. Embossing Buddy, again, Stampin' Up! Got rid of in their catalog this year. I think they'll wise up next year, hopefully, and put it back in. I do have some extra, so if someone doesn't have one and would like one, I certainly can get one to you. I purchased a lot of them so that I had them this year since they weren't available in the catalog. Then I'm going to grab my Versamark Watermark ink pad, and I'm going to grab one of my tree stamped images. And let me just show you on the kit, or on the box here, the stamp box, I am using this larger solid tree stamp, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take my Versamark and ink it up. Sometimes I find that it's a little easier to take the ink pad down onto the stamp. And I'm going to start over here in this left-hand corner, and I'm just going to start down here on the bottom, having that tree line up along the bottom edge of that cardstock. Remember that when you're using Versamark and you're embossing, you really want to give your paper time to soak up that ink, okay? So that you know that it will be juicy enough to hold on to that embossing powder, okay? I'm going to go ahead and ink up that tree again. This time I'm going to come in here much higher. I'm almost centered top to bottom here with this stamping of this tree. Notice I'm only touching the corner up here of the paper. I don't want it to handle that too much with my fingers. Oils can come off your fingers and stick to your cardstock, and then you'll have embossing powder sticking to that as well. So I'm just keep working my way down. I'm going to stamp 4 of these, and I'm staggering them up, down here. And after I stamp the 4th one, then I'm carefully in this upper left-hand corner here, going to pick up my cardstock, bring in my white embossing powder, and I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle some down over my stamped trees. Okay, go ahead and tap off the extra. You can see that up in the corner where my finger was, there's embossing powder sticking. So that proves right there that there are oils on your fingers that can have embossing powder stick. So a lot of times what I'll do is just take a regular little watercolor paintbrush and come in here and just get the extra off, okay? I see a little bit down here at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and hit that too and get that off. However, one of the great things with this project is we're actually going to spritz this and make it look like kind of a snowy blizzard woodland. And so it's not as critical that you get all that little piece or little flecks of embossing powder off with this project. So I would proceed with this piece, go ahead and heat emboss those 4 trees. And then I would come back in here, and if you want to hit this side again with your Embossing Buddy, you may. and then take your tree stamp again, ink it up, and you can stamp at least 4 more trees in the same manner I did here. You might even be able to get a 5th one, okay, as you work your way across, okay? But for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. I'll let you do that. I've already done that, and it looks like this time I did. I have my 4 trees, and then I was able to do 5 more trees here, okay? All right. Now we have our beautiful front piece here. Now, as I said, we're going to make this look kind of like a winter wonderland. I have an old box that I use when I use some of the Stampin' Mist spritzers. And I'm using the white today. And I've just put it in a little spray bottle here with some rubbing alcohol. I probably put about maybe a teaspoon in with this size 4-ounce bottle. And then you want to make sure, you can see there's a lot at the bottom here. You do want to make sure and shake that up really, really well before you spray it and use it. And make sure that that bottom is clean so that you know that it's all mixed up in there. Okay. I placed my embossed navy piece in my box. I don't know if you can see it there. You can kind of see it. It's just an old shallow box that I found in the garage, and I just throw some paper towels in the bottom of it, throw my piece of cardstock in there, and I'm just going to take and just spritz it once, twice, maybe a 3rd time, depending on how much you like it to shimmer. I know I have my shimmer girls out there who like a lot. Because it's rubbing alcohol, it will dry very quickly. Because I did it inside my box, I saved all my projects and all my other papers around in my surface here a little bit. And so it's just a nice, easy thing I can grab when I want to use this technique, okay? I think that's showing there. Oh, so pretty, isn't it? So we will set that aside. It will dry fast, but we'll set that aside and let that dry while we work with some of our other pieces here, okay? All right, so let's go through them. I have my silver metallic piece here. I have a little 2-inch circle pre-cut piece that you'll receive, a piece of Whisper White like I talked about. There's also a piece of the thick Whisper White here. And I'll throw in these 2 little sentiment pieces as well. Let's move all this down. We'll get on camera here. Sorry about that. So the silver piece on this card, you will take, actually just like this first card, this dainty little cutout silver tree embossing folder will get punched out on that piece. And then you want the largest solid die to be able to use on this little bit smaller Whisper White piece here. You'll cut that out there. Now, your thick Whisper White piece, you will need to cut out with a larger circle. And if you do not already have the Stitched Shapes framelit dies, they are an excellent investment in anyone's stamp stash, in my opinion. So you not only get squares, ovals, you get circles, and you can use these on all kinds of projects. I am going to grab the largest circle for this project. This would be an add-on item to this class for 10% off. So it would be a great way to pick those up if you don't already have them. That is going to get placed here on that thick Whisper White piece. Okay, you'll run that through your die machine and be able to cut that out and make a stitched larger circle. I did the thick cardstock so that way, pull in my project here, you had just a little bit thicker because it overhangs, and the way it peeks over that, it will be just a little bit sturdier there, edge, okay? This 2-inch circle cutout, I took that Evergreen Forest embossing folder again, like I used on the first card, and I just took this circle and came in here and kind of strategically placed it where I could get the most trees on it, ran it through the embossing folder, and you end up with this, okay? Again, I love both sides. Sometimes I have a hard time deciding which side to use with this. but you could use another embossing folder that you have at home as well. But I do think this Evergreen Forest embossing folder is absolutely gorgeous. So after you run your dies through your machine, you will end up with these pieces here, okay? So the first thing I want to do is take my silver cutout tree and come in here again with my multi-purpose glue, and I'm just going to do a little dot on some of those little larger spaces on the back side here. Doesn't take very much. And I'm going to layer that directly on this solid Whisper White one. Okay. And it's easy to do because you can kind of just take the edges there and make sure that you have it even across the top. Okay, just like that. All right, so now we're ready to continue to build this circle. We're going to take our little 2-inch embossed circle with a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the back side here. And that is going to get placed to the kind of the far right of your stitched larger circle. Okay, just like that. Now, in your kit, you will have one of the gold hoops. I'm in love with these. They come in that Forever Fern suite, which they're beautiful with, but I just love these for the holidays too. I've been using a lot of them. You'll have a piece of our silver metallic Whisper White ribbon here, and I basically just took the ribbon under through the center and I looped it over the top. But before I did that, I took a glue dot to help secure and hold it. If you want to play just a little bit first and make sure that when you pull this over, your ends are going to be fairly even over here, you can. But go ahead and bring that back around, center it, and then go ahead and I placed a glue dot right there. Carefully, not to disturb my ribbon, and then bring your end over and around. And I am not having my ends meet up. Notice how I'm kind of leaving them kind of staggered over here on this side, okay? But that will help hold that ribbon onto that gold hoop, okay? I think that's just a nice way to adhere that. The next thing we're going to want to do with it is bring it over to our circle piece here, okay? And again, to be able to attach that, I'm going to use a glue dot. And right where that ribbon wraps around that gold hoop, I'm going to try and press, 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 and get a glue dot to pick up on there. And then this gold hoop actually fits perfectly around your, not perfectly, there's a little gap, I guess, there, around your embossed tree 2-inch circle, okay, just like that. Now, to help those ribbons hold a little more in place, I'm going to take my paper piercer again, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab a glue dot, and I'm going to go ahead and place it underneath. The other thing you could do is, we could at this point use some Scotch tape under here, because this is all going to get hidden by your tree. And so if you feel a little more comfortable using some Scotch tape, you actually not only cover your ribbon, but you're also going to be able to go down between your ribbons and onto that gold hoop and be able to really hold that a little more securely in place, okay? Whatever adhesive you find works for you the best. The next thing I want to attach is my beautiful tree, which again is going to come in here and cover up that Scotch tape. But I'm laying this here first so that I can see where I will need to strategically place my mini dimensionals. And I think I'm going to put one here, here, and then I'll put another one up here towards the top, okay? I don't want any of those dimensionals to land where that hoop might be, or even the ribbon, because then it won't hold as well. I really want it to adhere to that Whisper White cardstock down below. So I'm going to place one down here towards the bottom of each side, and then again I'm going to place one up over here to this side, okay? And then that just gets laid right on here. And it's pretty much centered top to bottom. You have a little bit of a tree overhang up there. Okay. Now my ribbons look a little long, so I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to trim off at an angle each of those right there like that to give it a nice finished edge. And now we're ready for our sentiment. You have a piece of Whisper White here, and you also have a piece of the Silver Metallic. I'm going to again use the Season's Greetings stamp from this set. I'm pulling in my Night of Navy ink pad, and I'm just going to stamp that right here. I apologize, I'm going to pull that a little closer to me. It might be off camera, but I need to be able to see directly over the top of it here to make sure that I'm stamping it directly in the center. The Night of Navy ink pad would be an add-on item to this class, along with the white embossing powder, the Versamark ink pad, those things that I talked about as well. Then we're going to go ahead, and I'm not going to touch that ink because I don't want to smear it. It does dry pretty quick, but I want to make sure that it's dry and I don't smear it with my fingers. But I'm going to give myself just a little bit of a flag cut at each end of this Season's Greetings strip. And then I'm going to take my multi-purpose glue, and I'm just going to add some glue just right down the center there, basically from one notch to the notch there at the other end. And then I'm just going to place that right over the top of my Silver Metallic strip, making sure that it's centered and coming out from those notches nicely. Just kind of a different way, a nice way to attach a little bit more silver to make it a little more holiday-ish card. And then this is going to get laid right here on top. And I'm going to use, again, some mini dimensionals. So if you don't have mini dimensionals, those would be a good thing to add on to your order. I don't do adhesives as add-on items for my classes. I feel like that's just a basic stamp and staple that everyone has. So go ahead and place that however it pleases your eye. I like it there. It kind of staggers in between these ribbons, just like that. Okay, now we can set that aside with our embossed trees, and then let's build our card. So you had those two pieces here that measured 4 by 5.5, and they were scored at the roughly 1 inch line here. You also have two smoky slate pieces, okay? So we're going to be working with one of those right now. I'm going to go ahead and score on these scored lines here. Same thing here with this one. Something I want to do though, and you could do this actually before you score them, is come in here with your paper snips, and from that scored line out, go ahead and trim a little corner off here. Okay? I just find that it actually lays a little bit better as we go to build this card to get that little bit of a bulk out from the corner. Okay, so I just did that on all 4 corners here, okay? And there's no precise measurements or anything to that. Just trim off from the scored line out a little bit at an angle. Now I'm going to take those, and I'm going to take my multi-purpose glue, and I'm going to, on the inside flap of that, okay, see how it folds in like that? That's where the glue is. I'm going to take that, and on the front side of your smoky slate piece, you're going to lay it down like this. Maybe that helps to turn it that way. And it's going to go flush up against that scored folded line there, okay? Go ahead and bring that down and press firmly so it holds. You could also use some sticky strip here or our tear and tape here as well, just something that has a really good hold to it. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Go ahead and apply some glue. And again, we're going to place this on the front, and then your flap is going to come around here to the back. You're going to butt it right up against that scored folded line there, and go ahead and press firmly. Now, my hope is that when you get these attached, once you get these tabs attached, you flip it over and your middles should meet fairly decent, and those do. There's maybe just a smidge of a little crack there, but it's fine, okay? And this becomes the front of your card. This becomes the back of your card. Now, the back of our card needs to look a little better than that. This is a beautiful card. We want to have it have a very nice finished look. So I gave you an extra piece of the smoky slate that measures 4 by 9. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my multi-purpose glue and I'm going to go all around the perimeter of that very nicely. So that way I know it's going to stick all the way up into the edges and the corners. And then I'm going to take and just place that right on the back side of that card. Remember, you have a few minutes that you can shift and move it if you need to with the multi-purpose glue, which I really appreciate. And then go ahead and just press. Sorry if my table's shaking today. I'm doing a lot of pressing and and I just noticed that. So sorry if you're getting vertigo from that. Okay, while I'm right here for right now, I think we're going to go ahead and attach our centerpiece. Remember, this was our other piece of Whisper White, and it measured 3 3/4 by 8 3/4. I went ahead and I stamped these Night of Navy cluster of trees there. So I'm going to take my Stamp and Seal and apply some down each edge here. And remember, you don't need as much. It's super strong. And so I just end up putting it down just 2 sides, not around all 4. It doesn't need it. Go ahead and attach that then for our inside. Okay. All right, now let's bring our beautiful Night of Navy white embossed trees out next. And this obviously is too big for this. So we need to cut this right down the middle. Okay. Now, this should be exact, but it isn't. And I'm going to give you a little tip here so that way your card looks good, okay? It might not be the exact, remember this is 9 inches. So the exact middle would be 4.5. But I really want this to look nice. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to eyeball this right now where I think that the center is. And so that I have a nice little edge around the perimeter there. I'm going to grab a pencil and I'm just lightly going to place a little tick line right here at the top, the center of where those 2 pieces come together back behind, okay? Then I'm going to take this over to my paper trimmer and I'm actually going to cut right down the middle of that, okay? So let me do that. I actually could bring that in and show you. There you go. And if I bring this in and I match up that little pencil tick line there, I can go ahead and just cut that right down the middle, okay? And bring our pieces out. And we're going to go ahead and apply some multi-purpose glue to the back sides of these. Again, making sure you kind of get it way up here in the corners. You want it to hold nice. And then keeping it in the same orientation as you just measured, apply it. Notice I opened the card. I think that just works a little nicer. You can see that actual edge here onto the right side to be able to place it and butt it up right against that edge, which is what you want. Okay. Go ahead and give that a nice little press there. Okay. And now we're ready to attach this one here, the other side. Again, multi-purpose glue all the way around. Okay. And again, I'm actually not going to open this up. I just changed my mind quick because I do this time want to see that other left side Night of Navy piece because I really want these to be completely straight across from themselves. Does that make sense? This little part here, you want to make sure is completely straight across so that it looks nice and even. Okay. Go ahead and press again. And you can see that my blues match up here on each side. Okay? Now we're ready for our beautiful centerpiece that we made with our tree on it to attach here in the center. This is going to open though. Remember my sample? This is going to open this way. So I don't want any adhesive on this side of the circle. Okay? I only want it on this side to hold it. That allows it to open. So cool here. All right. Cool. Nice. All right. So again, I'm just going to take and center this. And then I'm going to just with my eye and even my finger as I pick it up here, I'm going to mark kind of where that line is. And I'm only going to put adhesive on this side. I am going to be a little generous, not so much that it's going to oop out all over, but enough that it's really going to be able to hold it nicely. Okay. Again, I'm going to open this up just a little bit. I don't want any chance of any glue getting on my other half. Okay. Go ahead and place that on there. And then before it really has time to stick, flip it over and look. And we did okay. There's just a little bit of glue there. So I'm going to go ahead, just take my finger and wipe that off. If it's excessive and it's too much, obviously there are adhesive erasers. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that because I do have just a little bit there more than I want. And you take your adhesive eraser and you just get that extra off there. And nobody will ever know but you and I. Okay? We'll close your card and there you go. Okay? Absolutely stunning, isn't it? Love that. All right. So here again are the cards that go with this Class to Go card kit. I'll show them here again to you. Remember that this kit comes with supplies to create one of each of these cards, okay? I agree, I think, and I hope you agree, that these two cards are showstoppers that anyone would like to receive and display over the holiday season. If you would like to make more than one of each of these, with the purchase of the In the Pines bundle, meaning the stamp set and the dies, I will be offering each of these kit cards that I just demonstrated in this video today in packets of 4 that you can purchase for $12 a pack, plus postage if you do not live in the local Iowa City area. One pack would include all the same contents as in the Class to Go card kit, supplies to create 4 cards with envelopes of your chosen card design, meaning it would be 4 of each of these, or you could do 2 and 2. You can mix it up however you want. You just need to let me know. I would include all the pre-cut, scored cardstock, papers, embellishments, ribbons, the envelope, and to be able to create 4 cards for an additional $12. That basically works out to $3 a card for these unique holiday stunners. I think anyone on your holiday card list would love to receive these cards. Again, if you have any questions about any of this, please never hesitate to shoot me an email. I'm glad to explain further if needed. I really hope that you appreciate this video today and these beautiful new Slimline card designs. I really enjoyed creating them, and especially with this In the Pines bundle. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate your time. Stay well. Until next time, take care.